Hello everyone, I'm the Dapper Bard and I'm back with another GunPla review. This time we're looking at the RX-160 Byarlant. This is the prototype Byarlant used by Titan's ace Jerid Mesa in the series Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. It is a cool looking robot. It's all bulky with extra shields and claw hands, and it generally looks very intimidating. And I'll tell you right now, it was a very, very strange build. While the unit itself is kind of this cool, odd-looking unit for Jerid to go battle against the Zeta Gundam in near the end of the series, this is a kit that is one of the stranger building experiences I've had. Let's take a look and see why. So one thing I want you to notice here is like the legs. You have these extra thrusters here, which is nice, but they're like this weird kind of backwards bend to them, which makes them a little odd. You can also notice here if the arms, we got, you know, the big shield, the big arm, the big shoulder connecting into the body. Of course, have the wings on the side, the wings on the back. And yes, as you noticed, everything moves, which is great. I mean, it's sturdy, which is a huge plus in my book, but it's definitely one of those kits where it was just a stranger build than usual. In addition to that, you have stickers all over this guy. You got stickers for both shield wings. The wings back here have stickers. There's, of course, Mono Y and stripes on various, like, the legs. And yeah, so you have quite a few just kind of going around here all over this guy. But he does look really good aesthetically. He came together nicely. And you have nice different coloration here of everything and a cool looking head there. Overall, generally a really cool looking kit. And the stickers aren't that bad. The build is a little bit awkward in my opinion, just because of how strangely jointed the whole thing is. So let's put the arms back to the side like that. And let's take a look at some of the flexibility here. This is where this kit gets more weird. So one, the toe kind of bends a little bit, though it feels awkward to me. Most of this leg armor does not move. Get a weird bend like that at the ankle and at the knee. So it does kind of close in because of how strangely designed the leg is. As for forward kick, I mean, for a bulky boy, that's not too bad, I guess. The back's pretty nice, though, because this little engine thing here doesn't get too much in the way. You get a little bit at the back. So it's not too shabby. Little side armor things kind of turn a little bit, as you can see there. Let's get that. Back engine thing doesn't move. Front part obviously doesn't move. As for waist, we got some pretty good movement here. Forward, back, side to side. It's a nice, awesome thing. Because of, you can see how slim this waist is, it gives it a lot of flexibility as opposed to some of the other bulkier kits that have a huge waist and no flexibility. The shields also kind of move and wobble around everywhere, which is nice. Shoulders, okay amount of movement. Just be careful of the extra wings and stuff here, which actually also turn. The hands are still normal hands, but the arms themselves are very, very tight. There's not a lot of bend here that feels comfortable to me. And part of that's just due to the fact that you have the guns located here, which just push against here where we have the beam saber stored. So we got some strange arms that aren't really flexible. And everything else, as you can notice, I just keep twisting and turning parts, and it just allows you to adjust it in a lot of cool ways. The head has like almost no left and right just because those huge shoulders, a little bit of back and forth. I mean, it's really kind of the problem of just having massive shoulders. The biggest detriment, I think, to some of its flexibility is just how it's designed. Oops, sticker there's getting a little loose. These guys don't have a lot of movement on the back there. As I said, the side parts do. So overall, a lot of movable parts, A lot of things that help make this guy cool in terms of what he looks like. But a unit is more than just its flexibility, it's also its accessories. So let's take a look at some of those. So as I pointed out, that the little slots there for the beam sabers, and they can be held by these closed up holding hands, which aren't the nicest looking hands, but again, when you have these claw hands, it's kind of the best you're going to hope for, one for each side. So not too bad. Of course, for the beam saber, we have massive beam saber blades. Blades are almost the size of a smaller kit. I love the larger blades. These are always kind of cool. So, and for some reason, mine have a slight curve to them. I think it's because my part got bent in the box. So I don't think it's supposed to come with a curved blade, but mine did on accident. So it looks a lot cooler than the standard blade, that's for sure, because it looks like it has some action going for it. Speaking of action, we have an action-based connector. Because this thing has a strange body, it needed its own unique connector. So right there. And I would actually recommend putting it on an action base. While the legs are very stable because they're large, I just think there's a lot more you could do with moving the legs, the shields and everything, and make it look like it's in motion and in battle if you use an action base. Now here's the thing that's crazy about this kit. There is an absurd amount of spare parts, many of which don't actually work for this kit. So this clearly was built out of multiple kits. So we have parts like these, which are those soft kind of parts, so I didn't want to cut them off just to keep them safe for whatever might need those. Of course, we got a handful of polycaps remaining on this giant polycap runner. And the sheer amount of armor is like, just show you, I have a baggie here just filled. Look at this, you could build another robot out of this much leftover pieces. So yeah, these were clearly parts and pieces of various other units. There's also some alternate beam sabers. Here I can actually pull one out and show you. They're clearly from another kit, but are in this for some reason. So there you go. Alternate beam saber holder. They are shaped differently than the ones from this kit. And there you go. So if you know what unit uses these handles, you have spare handles. They are not the Byarlant stylized ones. So yeah, there's thrusters in here. There's just random armor pieces like this. Looks like to be one of the wings actually that are on the suit. So you do get some spares of these wings. And of course that rear thruster thing, yes, you get a spare rear thruster thing. You have a lot of like those parts, like the body parts, not a lot of the secondary parts required. And then you have these things which are clearly an internal part of something, but I have no idea what. So yeah, that's one of the things that makes this kit more weird and different, is the sheer amount of wasted plastic that this kit has. I don't like all the extra spare parts when it gets to this level of extreme, primarily because it feels like they're wasting plastic. And when you could have just made a simpler runner that contains the parts we need rather than, you know, taking parts off of multiple different kits and a few bespoke parts in order to make this work, and then have a bunch of that leftover plastic just, you know, fill up a fair chunk of a baggie. I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me. Overall, I think this kit is pretty awesome. But before we wrap up completely, let's go check out and see if he's the chunkiest high grade I've built. Cut and fill it. So here's the Messer versus the Byarlant. Messer, I believe, has the advantage on height if you're not going to count the rear thrusters there. But in terms of width, you're looking at the Byarlant. So they're both very competitive in terms of the bulkiest boys I've had to build. They are from different time periods in the Gundam universe, so I guess, you know, can't fully compare like that, but definitely kind of cool in seeing these two big guys, because both their boxes were just huge, and both of them had a ton of spare parts. The nice part about the Byarlant spare parts is they are all smaller parts, so they don't take up as much room, versus the huge plates of armor for the Messer were just a mess. And if you want to know more about my thoughts on the Messer, I do have a review of that. You can check it out. Link is in the description. Whoosh. And now let's compare it to something from its own time period. It's Hyaku-Shiki, and you can see here Hyaku-Shiki's looking a little dainty compared to this guy. So if you want to know a general idea of how large this guy is and how big and intimidating he's going to look versus your other Zeta suits, well, you can see right there, if the Hyaku-Shiki looking quite a bit smaller than the Byarlant. So it should make for some cool posing and very intimidating looking battle conditions. And if you want to know more about the Hyaku-Shiki, I do have a video. Its link is also in the description, so you can check that out as well. Overall, this is a really interesting kit to build. Because its joints, legs, and everything are so different than everything else, it gives you a different experience, especially if you get burned out on building, gyms and Zakus and things like that, where it feels like you're building the same kit over and over again because the arms are basically the same, the legs are basically the same. This gives you a different experience in that regard. In terms of accessories and things like that, this is what the Byarlant has. It doesn't have some specially designed rifle it can hold with its awkward hands. It is literally designed to be a close-range unit with using all those thrusters and what have you to get up in the enemy's face as quickly as possible. The claws are meant to rip things apart, as you see in the anime when Jerid rips one of those grunt units in half, which is great. You have the beam sabers in case you need to get into some beam saber combat, and those large beam sabers are pretty cool. Beyond that, there isn't a lot in terms of the accessories because there isn't a lot for this kit to have in terms of accessories. Instead of omitting anything like they may have done of certain kits, they literally gave you everything you could have had for this kit. Some of its posing can be a little awkward. The arms, like I said, just never want to really work correctly, and that's kind of a bummer. Beyond that, though, I really like this kit. You put this up on a stand, as I said earlier, you can make some cool looking poses with the legs, and the thrusters, and everything like that, and just set the arms into some sort of intimidating pose, or potentially just give it a beam saber looking like it's, about to swing in and take someone out. There isn't a lot to say in terms of cons on this kit. There are a few stickers because it's a Titans kit, so of course you're gonna have yellow stripes everywhere. And like I said, there are some minor limitations to posing and things like that. Overall, this is a cool kit. It makes for a great antagonist unit for your Hyaku-Shiki or your Zeta Gundam. And I like bulky kits. There's something about these big guys that just looks cool. And this is one of the, though not the, biggest kits of the Zeta Gundam time period, with probably only 1 or 2 kits larger than this kit. Overall, I enjoyed building it. It looks cool on my desk, and it's hard to really find a lot of faults with the Byarlant. If you have the chance, please check out my reviews for the Messer and the Hyaku-Shiki. And until next time, I'm the Dapper Bard, and I'll see you at the tavern.